Hey guys, Eric Lucas, personal trainer here at ContentRequestsFAEC. So the focus of this month and the next couple months is going to be strength training for runners. So the focus of this week's video is going to be a reverse lunge. Reverse lunge is going to be important for helping you to strengthen your glutes. Also provides stability, lateral stability for your leg. It's going to help keep your knee joint in balance. One of the primary reasons it's going to help do that is by strengthening the glutes. You see the glutes help to extend the hip, so extension of the hip, and also externally rotate the leg in extension. So when the foot hits the ground, the leg tends to like to twist in, right? And what's slowing down that force of the inward rotation as your foot collapses into the ground is the glute muscle. So if the glutes are not strong enough, your foot's going to collapse, and then you're going to, over time, tend to get more stress on the inner side of your knee. So this is how this exercise can help. Additionally, if you think about force couples in the body, the force couples that act on the hip are, you have 4 different muscles primarily acting on the hip in the sagittal plane, so front to back like this. First one is going to be your abdominals, balanced out by the glutes. The abdominals pull the pelvis up in the front, the glutes pull the pelvis down in the back. So you want even balance between those two. Then you have the erector spinae group, or your lower back muscles here. Those are going to pull the pelvis forward or up in the back, and then pull. And then you have the hip flexors down here, which correspond to that, and they pull the pelvis down. So typical problem that if you have a job where you're sitting for prolonged periods of time, where you're driving in a truck or whatever for your job, you're going to have shortened hip flexors because you're sitting for prolonged period of time, and then because your butt is always in a extension and not actually contracting very much, and you're sitting on it, you're going to have kind of a little bit of amnesia because you're sitting on those nerves. You're also not using the butt to extend the hip very much when you're sitting, right? So what can happen is you get those tight hip flexors, and then because the hip flexors are tight, it causes your lower back to tighten up to help raise you up a little bit, and then that just exacerbates the problem. So obviously you want to be doing a bunch of mobility exercises and stuff, which I've showed in some other videos to help loosen up your lower back, to help stretch out the glutes, stretch out your hip flexors, things like that. But from a strengthening perspective, if you want to counteract, so for example, if your lower back is tight, it's going to pull up, right, like this. Well, if you want to counteract that, you want to get those abdominals tighter, right? If the hip flexors are pulling you down in the front, well, we want to use the glutes to pull you down in the back, right? So what the good thing about doing a reverse lunge, especially if you do it from a front rack position, so I'm going to show you first just body weight lunge, and then I'm going to show you where you're doing it in the back rack position, and then in the front rack position. So I'm going to talk about it here, and then I'll reiterate it again when I demonstrate the exercise. So when you do it in the front rack position, you're actually working your abdominals a lot to stabilize the core, to prevent you from falling forward like this. So it naturally helps you not only strengthen the glutes, but also work the abdominals in that fashion so that you can help to correct that imbalance, and that's going to help you not only help you prevent getting injuries as a runner, at least in that plane of motion, but it's also going to make you a stronger, faster runner because you're going to be able to extend your hips better, moving you forward much faster. If you're running like this, when you go for a run, you know that your glutes are pretty weak. You should be falling more towards the middle of your foot and leaning slightly forward as you're running rather than leaning back when you're running. So this will help you with that. All right, enough talking, let's get into the video. Okay, so when you set up for your reverse lunge, you want to be roughly shoulder width apart as you're looking at yourself from the front. And then from the side, you want to have enough that if you're too close, you're going to be kind of going piece over the toes, which is not really that bad, but it's going to put most of the strength, or most of the focus into your quads. And if you want to focus on your glutes, you want to be stepping forward a little bit farther. So I like to lead with the heel. So put your heel down, then fold in like this, and then when you come down, I want you to be sinking straight down to begin with. So just practice doing a split squat first before you do actually lunge forward and backwards. So you can stay in place like this, breathe in on the way down, briefly touch that knee to the floor, push through the middle of your foot. You should feel at the bottom of the movement, you can feel your glutes contracting, and then the quads take over as you're coming up to the top. So breathe in, boom, up and down. Breathe in, exhale, coming up and down like that. And just practice with that until you get pretty proficient with it. I would say 20 on each side You know, anywhere between 10 to 20, but because it's just body weight, you want to build up that endurance, and then you have that strong base of endurance, and you can move back. As you start adding weight, you can decrease the reps a little bit as you're gaining strength, but you want to make sure that you're maintaining the proper form throughout, even as you're increasing the load. All right, so now we're going to do some barbell variations, and then if you don't have a barbell, say you're working at home or something like that, I'll show you some variations you can do for that as well. Okay, so if you're training at the gym and you got that squat rack like this, then because you have the weight on your upper back, on your torso, it's going to add a little bit more core stability component, and that's why I like these free weight exercises a lot, because and you're freestanding and you're not locked into a machine, because then you have to build that coordination and stability throughout your whole body, which is going to make you a better athlete. It's going to also help you prevent injuries in real life, as opposed to a machine exercise, which can help you develop muscle, but not the coordination between all your different muscle groups. So, to start, we want to do it with it on your back, because it's a little less technical. And when you're doing this, you want to make sure that you're focusing on keeping that chest up. And again, inhale in as you're going down, exhale as you're going up. It's going to help to keep that posture good. So sit up nice and straight when you're doing it. And then pause for a second, especially in the beginning. You want to pause for a second at the bottom, come back up. So make sure you're not using too much weight that you get stuck at the bottom when you're stopping and pausing. So deep breath in, push through the middle of the foot. If you notice from when you're going back, you might notice a little bit of wobble in the knee like that. Use a light enough weight that you can try to really focus on trying to keep that knee tracking straight up and down, because that's the difference. It's going to make you be able to provide that stability in your knee so that you're not going wonky all over the place. Okay, so now the next variation, and you might need to work on your shoulder mobility a little bit, stretch those triceps out, as well as if you have poor posture, you're also going to want to work on some exercises, and you can see some of my other videos where I talk about how to increase mobility in your upper back, as well as strengthen your lower traps to increase that thoracic extension. And this is going to become really important when you're doing exercises where you have that bar racked in front of you, otherwise it's going to be pulling you forward like this. So you want to be able to come like that, rack that bar straight, and as I talked about at the beginning of the video, doing it in the front rack position is going to help you increase that core stability to prevent you from falling forward like that. So, deep breath in. Come up underneath the bar, get those elbows up nice and high, then breath in as you go back. All right, so what do you do if you don't have a barbell or a squat rack to do these exercises? So you can grab a bag of, salt. If you have a water purification system, you can go get a bag of sand or pea gravel from Menards. You can use that. You can use a kettlebell. You can use a heavy dumbbell, or you can use a weight plate like this. But if you have this, you probably also have the squat rack. So I'm just going to demonstrate what you can do with this. So just hold it in front of you, and you can, however is the most comfortable way for you to hold it, and then just perform the exercise just like we did in the rack. So you go back, breathing in. If you also want to work on improving that posture, so that and helping with upper body fatigue as you towards the latter stages of a race, as you're getting more tired, you can hold the weight over your head. So a little bit more challenge for the core. When you're doing that. All right, guys, that's it for the reverse lunge. Give it a try if you're not already doing these exercises. If you have any questions or things that didn't quite make sense to you in the video, leave your questions in the comments below. We'll see you next week for more health and related and fitness related information. Remember, this month we're going to be focusing on strength training for runners. All right, guys, see you next time.